In this video, we're going to look at a simple interest problem. Identify the givens and the goals in each problem and write your final answers as complete sentences. Charlene invests $11,000, so that's our first piece of given information, at 3% simple interest for 8 years. So we're given three quantities here, or three pieces of given information. Now I see a question coming, so this is going to be our goal, one of our goals. How much interest does she earn? How much is in the account at the end of the 8-year period? And finally, what percent of the original amount is the interest? Okay. So let's take a look at our formulas. These are developed in your media lesson. So for simple interest, we use these 5 different letters, and this is what they represent. Capital I represents interest in dollars. Capital P is the principal in dollars. That's the initial amount invested or borrowed. Capital A represents the end amount, or sometimes we use FV for future value in dollars. So this is how much you have in your account after the time has passed. And little r is the interest rate written as a decimal. We're usually given a percent, which we were in this problem, but you're going to rewrite it as a decimal in your computations. And little t is the time in years. Here we have all the formulas for simple interest. Notice for the 5 letters, we have a formula for each letter. So given all of the other values, we can solve for any one of these. Okay, so let's see which ones we're given and which ones we're solving for. So, our given information, she invests $11,000, so that's at the beginning, so that's a principal, capital P. 3% simple interest, so that's our small r, our interest rate, and we write that as a decimal. Okay, so 3% as a decimal, divide by 100, and you have 0.03. And we're given time, it's given in years, so time is 8. Okay. So we're given P, R, and T, and in the first question, we're asked to find how much interest she earns. So the formula from the slide was interest equals P, R, T. These letters are written next to each other. That's called juxtaposition, and in mathematics, that means that we're going to multiply each of these quantities. So we have all 3 of these, so $11,000 times 0.03 times 8. So let's put this in the calculator. 11,000 times 0.03 times 8 is $2,640. So as a complete sentence, she earns $2,640. So that was our first question. Let's look at the next one. How much is in the account at the end of the 8-year period? So since it says at the end of the 8-year period, that means we want to find the end amount. And the formula from our formula slide, we call the end amount A. And we can find that using principal times 1 plus the rate times the time. Okay. Notice we have all these values. So we have 11,000 times 1 plus 0.03 times 8. And this expression is in parentheses, and we can have the calculator do that for us. So 11,000 times, open parenthesis, 1 plus 0.03 times 8. And now I'm taking a look up here to make sure it's all punched in correctly. And it is, and if we hit equals, we get $13,640. Okay. So the end amount is $13,640. Let's just take 1 second to note some relationships here. Okay. Here, I didn't use this formula, but interest can also be found by the end amount minus the principal. So your interest is, at the end you have some amount, you invested some amount, whatever that difference is, that's how much you earned in interest. Now I didn't use that formula here because we didn't have the end amount yet. We computed it here. Okay, but just to verify that, if we find the amount minus the principal, we have $13,640 minus the $11,000 invested, and notice that matches up with our result. Similarly, this isn't on our formula sheet, but you can use this whenever you want to, whenever it applies. Okay, the principal plus the interest equals the end amount. Okay, so at the end, you have your principal, the amount you originally invested, you earn some interest, and your end amount is both put together. So we could have taken the $11,000 and added the interest, which we had already found, and notice this gives us the same result. Okay, so you need to be proficient in using both of these formulas. Okay, the original ones we used, but if you have one piece of information, it's easier to find the other using one of these relationships. Now let's look at the last one. What percent of the original amount is the interest? Okay, I'm going to write this sentence here. What percent of the original amount is the interest? Okay, so we don't have a direct formula on the formula sheet for this. This is sometimes called the total return in finance, but it can be a little bit more complex. But we're just going to use the ideas that we learned from percents. Okay, so the whole is what follows the word of. Okay, so we're trying to find a percent, okay, and we want to find the percent of the original amount of compared to the interest. Okay, so to find this, we're going to find the interest. Let's change back our pen colors, or we already know the interest, so $2,640. Okay, so that's how much we earned in interest, and we want to compare that multiplicatively to how much we originally invested. Okay, so this is telling us a percent, the percent of our original investment that equals the interest. And then to write this as a percent, we're going to divide this and then multiply by 100 to change it as a percent, to a percent. So 2,640 divided by 11,000 times 100 equals 24%. Okay. So in the 8 years, we earned 24% interest of our original investment. Okay, so what percent of the original amount is the interest? The interest is 24% of the original amount, or we'll say the original investment. Okay, and just to draw one more connection here, okay, notice they earn she earned 3% per year for 8 years. 3 times 8 is 24. 3% times 8 is 24%, and that will always happen with simple interest. However, I prefer that you use this idea like a percent increase that we used in the previous unit. So when we get to more complex problems, you know how to find this total return or percent change. So the interest divided by the original amount. Make sure you don't use the end amount. That's the most common mistake, and write that as a percentage.